Hello, my most amazing artists. Today, we are going to take our pumpkin drawing from yesterday and we are going to add value to it, taking our 2D pumpkin and making it appear or look like it is 3D or three-dimensional. I'm going to start by selecting an orange crayon from my box. I have a couple different shades of orange to choose from, so I'm going to check them all out. If you're working at home, you are allowed to use crayons, colored pencils, or just a regular graphite pencil if you have it. If you do that though, you will not have color, but that's okay, friends. So I'm going to start with my test paper just like you to practice making value. Value, we talked about earlier, is when we add white to make something light or black to create a shade to make it dark. To do this with a crayon, I'm going to put more pressure or bear down hard when I want dark colors, and I'm going to lighten up my pressure or not push down hard when I want light colors. See how I'm changing the value scale through my pumpkin? I'm going to replicate this now on my drawing. First, I'm going to start in the middle. Remember how we talked about a light source making something look brighter and lighter, and that helps a 2D work of art look more 3D. So we are going to pretend that our imaginary light source, whether it's the sun or a flashlight, is shining on the middle of my pumpkin. That is going to be the lightest part we see in that middle bump. Notice how I'm using really strong craftsmanship when I draw. I'm trying my best to stay inside the lines of that bump. I'm working nice and evenly to where we see no white space in between, and I'm being really careful to use a tiny bit of pressure so that my mark making is really light. Notice after I reach the top, I'm going to come around the edges of my bump and darken it just a tiny bit to help it look more realistic or 3D. That's because when we look at a real-life pumpkin, we know where our bumps meet together. They go inside a little bit, which would cause a shadow. Now it's your turn. Go ahead and shade in the middle section of your pumpkin with a light tint. Make sure you use a small, tiny bit of pressure to make your crayon or pencil marks look light. Now I'm going to move over to the next bump to the right of my middle. I'm going to fill in my color here just a little bit darker. I don't want to put too much pressure down because I don't want this to be my darkest mark. But I do want to put enough pressure down to where it looks darker than the first middle bump I shaded. When I reach the top, I'm going to do the same thing as last time. I'm going to darken up the edges of my bump just a little bit to show that shadow. Now it's your turn. Now I'm going to replicate the same thing on the bump to the left of my middle. Make sure that it's shaded nice and light, but not as light as the center oval. You want it to match the right side as close as you possibly can. Then when you reach the top, remember to go back and darken the edges just a little bit. Now it's your turn. Finally, I'm going to move on to my last two bumps. These are the ones on the outside, and since they are the furthest away from our light source hitting the pumpkin in the middle, we want them to be the darkest. This is where you can bear down really strong with that crayon, but be careful not to bear down so hard that you break your crayon. You still want to be gentle with this tool. I'm going back over my mark sometimes to make it even darker. That's a great strategy to use if you're having a hard time getting it super dark the first time. I'm filling in the top, and then you'll see in a moment I'm going to move over to the other side. Let's watch. now to complete my pumpkin, I'm going to add color to the stem and the leaf. I'm reaching in my crayon box to find a brown crayon for my stem. I'm going to start by coloring in the entire stem with a light color. I'm not putting a lot of pressure down. Then I'm going to get a little bit darker around the sides to help it look more 3D or three-dimensional. I'm adding the same value to the top by making the side a little bit darker. Then I'm going to reach back in my box and trade my brown out for a green. I'll do the exact same thing with my leaf. A light tint across the entire leaf, and then I'm going to shade it in darker with stronger pressure around the sides. This will help my leaf also look more three-dimensional. And there we have it. We just turned a 2D pumpkin into a pumpkin that looks 3D using our element of value. Your last steps for today, artists, is to give your pumpkin an outline. You see the black lines that Miss Epic has on her pumpkin. Well, remember, you did all of your drawing in pencil, so you will not be able to see those yet. That's why you're going to find your black crayon or other black material and give an outline to all of those pencil lines. Remember to follow them very carefully. Let's watch. And now for the fun part. In the style of our Japanese artist, Yayoi Kusama, you're going to cover your pumpkin with black dots. Remember, your dots can be all kinds of different sizes. Just make sure you fill them in with your black mark making tool, whether it's a crayon, colored pencil, or pencil at home. Let's see what happens. And now for our final step today. We're going to cut out our pumpkin. Remember, in art class, we talk about using our scissors with the hand we write with. So that means Miss Epic is cutting with her right hand. I'm opening and closing my scissors, and remember, we always use our lazy hand, or the hand we don't write with, to do all the turning on our paper. I'm going around my edges nice and neat, and I will raise my hand when I'm finished, so that someone can come and pick up my paper for the recycling can. I can't wait to see what your unfinished pumpkin looks like, artist. Happy creating!